This is the day we have been given. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Good morning and welcome to church. We are not in the sanctuary, but this is still church. For church is not a building, it is the people, and wherever we are gathered is sanctuary. I welcome those of you who would normally be in our pews and those who have joined us for online services. Beth and I, like you, are connecting for these services from our homes with the help of Michael Feeney, providing technical support and guidance from his home. And I hope you'll join Beth, Michael, and me after the service for what we still call coffee hour, though you have to bring your own coffee, tea, or juice. Today, the parish committee will lead a conversation about the budget for next year and about a proposal to fund repairs of the buildings of the church's roof and steeple. Both of these will be voted on by you next Sunday at our annual meeting. So I hope you can stay this morning for these important conversations. Here's a look at what else is happening this week. Dogs are happening.
Oh.
I'll go on until the slide comes up. Prepare for the week with meditation tomorrow night. Enjoy a story, there we go. Enjoy a story on Wednesday and tea on Thursday. And next Sunday after worship, we'll be having our annual annual meeting. During the service, we'll also be welcoming new members. And I forgot to add on here that our choir is now meeting on Sunday mornings from 9 to 9:30 over Zoom. So I invite you to join in. You can email Beth for the Zoom link, or we'll also have that in the newsletter. If you'd like to be part of our choir, they're working on a video presentation for one of our services in June. Zoom links and more information for all of these events are shared over email. So if you're not on our list, send us a message through our Facebook page or website, firstparishsituate.org. And though we haven't been taking a formal offering during these online services, if you'd like to support First Parish, you'll find a donation button on our website. And it's not too late to make a financial pledge for the coming year. For it takes all our contributions, song and service, money, meetings, and meditation to make our life together. That life is expressed in our covenant, and I invite you now to say the covenant of our church with me, and we'll all be unmuted so that we can hear each other saying it together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant,
to dwell together in peace, to cherish living earth,
to seek truth and love, to help one another. It's lovely to hear your voices. We have been in the season of resurrection, of life rising from seeming death. Throughout these weeks, Kay Shaw's butterfly painting has been a symbol to us of that promise. Yet the butterfly stands not just for joy, but for struggle, the struggle of release into greater life and beauty. and with struggle comes grief. On this Memorial Day, I invite you to let yourself feel that sorrow, to feel the blues. Beth will be playing blues music today to help us open ourselves to those feelings. And this is a safe space to feel the fullness of the pain of these days. And like the butterfly, we cannot move to greater life and beauty if we don't experience the pain and the struggle. But there are always lights in our darkness. As you in a minute light your candles and I light our chalice, I invite you to reflect on what is offering light to you these days. And when you feel grief during this service or in days to come, turn again to that light to lead you through it. Let us now kindle our flames. As you look at your own flame, our flame here, remember that you are surrounded by the flames of people you cannot see, but whose light is there too, to warm and guide you when your own seems not to be enough. Let's now join Beth in singing Rivers of Babylon. It's a Rastafarian version of Psalms 137 and 19, which have been songs of lament, songs of the blues for thousands of years.
By the rivers of Babylon, there is life gone, and there we wept, and we remember Zion. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, and there we wept, and we remember Zion. There the wicked carried us away, captivity required of us a song. How can we sing King Alpha's song in a strange land? Where the wicked carried us away, captivity required of us a song. How can we sing King Alpha's song in a strange land? So let the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord. So let the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord.
So this is the time in the service where, if you were here, I would invite the children and anybody else who wants to come down front for some conversation. And today I'm going to move aside a little bit because if you were here, I would ask you to look around and see if you see something new in our worship space. And maybe if you're with somebody, turn to the person who's with you and tell them what you think you see that's different. I'm smiling because Chuck is on the other side of the screen and acting like a child pointing at the new thing. And what Chuck is so smilingly pointing at is the globe. This week I participated online in the Festival of Homiletics, and I heard some great preaching and lectures. And one of the people who was preaching, I noticed behind her, she had a shelf on either side, and on one side was a globe, and the other side was a cross, and they were equally in size and in the way they were shown. So if you guys were here with me, I would ask you, why do you think she had those two things, a symbol of the world and the symbol of her religion, equal behind her? So equally with her when she was talking. And so again, maybe turn to somebody who's with you and share your thoughts, since I can't hear them, but share them with one another on why you think she had the cross and the globe. So if you want to put your thoughts in the chat, I will look at them later, but I'll tell you what I think. And there's no right answer. I didn't ask her why she did it. I was thinking about what difference would it make in our time together, in our lifting up what's most important to us, if we remember that what we're here to do is not just to comfort and inspire ourselves, but that our worship, our prayer, our thoughts, and our care includes the whole globe. What difference would that make in how we used this time together and how we went off into the rest of our week? And then I was thinking too about this being Memorial Day weekend, and how on Memorial Day weekend we remember the soldiers, the US soldiers who have died. But what difference would it make if we also remembered, and if we could named even, the soldiers of other nations who died, even like the soldiers of the nations we think of as our enemies? Because even though we're fighting them, they leave behind people who loved them, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, wives, children. We don't know their stories. But if we start thinking about them as human beings somewhere else on this globe, maybe it would make our sadness different, and also our intentions not to have wars different. Maybe it would help us move towards the peace and the justice and the love that we want. So if you have a globe at home, maybe you want to get your globe out and put it somewhere where you can see it and think about the way the globe reminds us that we're connected to everybody, even if we will never see their face or never know their name. And as a sign of that peace that we hope for, we're going to sing our song, Peace, Salam, Shalom. Beth's going to lead us in singing it.
Peace, salam, shalom. 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 Peace, salam, shalom.
Thank you, Beth. This is the time where we share our joys and our sorrows with one another. We're going to do it again in a couple different ways. If you're comfortable speaking them over Zoom, I invite you in the chat box to symbolically raise your hand, not put up a hand like this, but go into the I don't have it, I can't see, but it's the participants area, and you go to the 3 dots and raise your hand. Or if you would rather not be seen and speak on screen, you can write your joy and sorrow in the chat box, and Carrie Borkowski will read that out. Or you could write in the chat box that you have a joy or sorrow to share, and Michael will bring you on screen. So it's pretty complicated, but we're working on it, and I invite you now to share your joys and your sorrows.
Good morning, everyone. I have a joy that even though my dad was sick, his test came back negative for COVID.
Thank you, Amelia, and we're so happy for you, Doug, that we hope you feel better soon too. Thank you. Let's place I place a stone for Amelia's joy and for Doug's health, and let's say our response, may love abound.
Cheryl just put in the chat that Junie and Eve turned 4 years old today, so happy birthday to both of them.
And I'm going to place stones for Junie and for Eve for their birthdays and for their celebrating them with us. Let's say our response, may love abound. And Michael, would you unmute us all? You all. Michael, would you unmute us, and let's everybody sing happy birthday. It will be discordant but heartfelt. So happy birthday to Eve and Junie.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Eve and Julie. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, guys. This is why, as you can see, we don't sing together over Zoom, but thank you for letting us do this. Other joys and sorrows to share today.
I don't know.
I place one final stone for the joys and sorrows present but unspoken among us. And would you join me?
Pam, I'm sorry, we do have a couple.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just having a little trouble with the mics. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Michael.
Thanks, Michael. So Lori Klein shared that she's grateful for the perfect gardening weather today.
Let's place a stone for Lori's joy and say our response, may love abound.
Okay. And then there's one more, and I don't know the first name. I'm sorry. It says M. Keller's Halls. I'm grateful for my first iris.
A joy for Marky, and I think we're all grateful for the flowers. So Marky, thank you for that. Place that stone, and let's say our response, may love abound.
And Annie and Susan said, thank you for being able to sign the book.
Yes.
Yay.
We're so pleased to have you join. It was lovely to see you yesterday. And Becky Malamud also joined, so it was a treat. So for our new members in the community that we are sharing, place this stone, may love abound. Others, Carrie and Michael?
No, oh, and Beth is saying, I have a fun joy. Oh, we can't hear you, Beth. There you go.
Sorry.
I'm unmuted. I just wanted, this is kind of something goofy. My daughter and her boyfriend live in New York City, and they've been quarantining together since March, and they finally got a chance to leave the city and drive up to the Poughkeepsie area and get an Airbnb all by themselves and go hiking. And the fun joy is when they went to rent a car, the only car left was a convertible blue Mustang. So they got to drive, they had signed up for a cheap little, economy car, and they got to drive this blue convertible Mustang. And that was the biggest excitement they've had in months.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that joy with us, and we celebrate their feelings of freedom also.
Yeah. Yeah.
I place this stone for them. May love abound. Others? Then let's say together our unison prayer. We give thanks
Thanks for
here.
being
We give thanks for being
here.
here. We give
We
thanks
give thanks for being here together.
here
together.
Thank you all. I invite you to open your hearts to mystery. On this Memorial Day, we hold intentions in our heart, the sorrow for a day that remembers those killed in war, and the joy of a day that traditionally remembers and celebrates the beginning of summer. We celebrate those who are finding freedom and fresh air, and those who mourn with those who are still confined to apartments and houses, and who do not know when they will be able to get out. We live in this tension, and we are grateful that we are held in a love which holds all our tensions. May the power of this love continue to feed us. May it nurture Eve and Junie on their birthday, and may they grow in wisdom and in stature and in love in this year, and may all of us grow in that way. We celebrate with our Muslim sisters and brothers Eid al-Fitr, the end of Ramadan, the end of fasting, a mark of joy in the midst of sorrow. All these help us to remember that joy and sorrow are interlinked, that always in life we are in death, and in death we are in life. May their joy nourish us as we feel the blues. And let us feel the blues and the joys as Beth now plays. Thank you, Beth. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be aligned with love. On Memorial Day, we remember the members of our military who were killed as they served. Since last Memorial Day, 37 service people have died. I invite you to contemplate their names and their loss in silence now. Traditionally, Memorial Day is a time to remember those who have died in war. It is not a time to honor all who served. That's Veterans Day. Or to remember our beloved dead. That's All Souls Day. Usually I hold fast to that understanding of this day, in part to keep us focused for one day on the cost of war. But this year is different. I don't know how to talk about those lost to war without acknowledging, naming, and mourning also those lost to COVID-19. As the numbers of people killed by the virus in the US nears 100,000, I say that again, 100,000 of our fellow citizens. Today's New York Times front page is covered completely with the names of those who have died, but it only contains 1,000 of them, 1% of the dead. It would take nearly 100 pages of the Times to name them all. So this year, we need to expand our Memorial Day mourning to include them. And in some ways, they have died because of a war against science, a war against justice, a war against the poor, the sick, and the vulnerable, a war against the ideal of caring for all equally. Were our nation truly at peace, many of those who died might still be alive. But like the Cherokee, Choctaw, Creek, Chickasaw, and Seminole people who died on the Trail of Tears, they will not be counted as casualties of war. And so we mourn, we weep, we turn away because the grief is too big to bear, the numbers too large to comprehend. Like the author of the Psalms, we ask, how long, O Lord? How long will we live in fear? How long will we watch the numbers rise? How long will we be so divided? And we lament all that we have lost, our past lives, our present hopes, and future dreams. The biblical scholar N.T. Wright, in an article in Time magazine back in March, wrote, "Lament is what happens when people ask why and don't get an answer." Lament is what happens when people ask why and don't get an answer. Now you'd think that would be a bad thing to ask why and not get an answer, but actually lament is a good thing. Lament is just what we need to be doing right now. Answers would be easy answers, like those who said a miracle would come and wipe away the virus, like those who consider only profit and loss, like those who say things will be back to normal soon. Lament denies us the pseudo-solace of these easy answers and keeps us open to real action, real ways to help. We need right now to be a people of lament, people who sit with the pain, feeling our own pain, as well as the pain of those who grieve, the pain of those who cannot isolate themselves in safety, the pain of workers deemed essential who know themselves not to be safe, the pain of healthcare workers, the pain of refugees, the pain of people held in prisons and by ICE. For only when their pain is our pain will we be able to work together to create a society which does not offer the vulnerable for sacrifice. This past Thursday, Christians celebrated Ascension Day, which, as I say every year, is the most important holy day you've never heard of. Luke tells the story of the day in his gospel and in the book of Acts. In Luke's story, after Jesus' death, he returned to visit his disciples several times, eating with them and still teaching them and trying to help them understand the work they were now called to do. 40 days after his death, he was with them on a hilltop in Bethany, a town which had been important in his ministry. And suddenly, he disappeared into a cloud. As the disciples stared up at the sky, I imagine them open-mouthed and rubbing their eyes. Two beings in white appeared to them and said, "Why do you stand looking up into heaven?" In other words, stop looking at Jesus. Stop looking for Jesus. Stop looking after Jesus and get on with your own work. For our Universalist ancestors, Ascension Day was one of the most important holy days, more important than Easter. For Easter is about Jesus, but Ascension Day and Pentecost, which comes next Sunday, are about us. For these Universalists, the story of Jesus' ascension told them that they were now to look to this world and that they had been left with the power and the responsibility to build the realm of heaven, the realm of love and justice, the ideal for which Jesus gave his life, to build that here on earth. And the story also reminded them that they weren't called to do this work alone. Jesus didn't appear to his friends one-on-one, but only when they were together. And they were all together when he left them. So the work they were to do is for all of them together, supporting, encouraging, taking on, and handing over together. And this is still the way we as a church need to function. Like soldiers who understand themselves as part of a unit, we too must understand ourselves as a unit, as one body. We need each other as companions on the way. For if we try to do this work alone, we will only be left to mourn. But together we can transform our mourning, our losses, into a new morning, the dawn of a new way of life, one not built on the old structures of power and inequity, but one which translates all that we have learned in these months to new structures of compassion and fairness. But we need to let our mourning lead us beyond our desire to return to what was, to envision and work toward what could be. We need still to lament. In his blog, Unfolding Light, Steve Garnes-Holmes, the minister of St. Matthew's United Methodist Church in Acton, imagines this transition from the old normal to a new way of being. Now is this the time we will reopen? Now will our political party dominate? When will we return to normal? Can we be safe, privileged, and in power? It is not for you to know the future, or to be ascendant, or in power, or to control things. It is for you to be a witness. You can bear witness to the power of love, to love even when things are not restored. This is not second best. It is true power, whose waves ripple through the world. The center of the universe is not on the throne. It is your heart. Receive love, trust the power, bear witness. As we this weekend bear witness to those who were killed in wars and those dying of COVID-19, may our witness and our mourning break out into lament. And may that lament carry us all one day to that time when we will sing a song of joy. Let us now sing into our hope with our closing hymn, A Promise Through the Ages Rings. Please join me and Beth in singing it.
Hope so stay.
And now in your goings out and in your comings home, may you receive love, trust the power, bear witness, and may you know yourself held in that deep peace which nothing can give to us nor take away from us. Go in the knowledge and the comfort of that peace.